It's time to accelerate. Hi, I'm your host, Andy Paul. Join me as I host conversations with the leading experts in sales, marketing, sales automation, sales process, leadership, management, training, coaching, any resource that I believe to help you accelerate the growth of your sales, your business, and most importantly, you. Hi, this is Andy. I have a special offer for loyal listeners of Accelerate. It's a no-obligation free trial of my zero-time selling interactive online training. Now, I've worked with thousands of sales reps to teach them how to use my zero-time selling to boost their productivity and transform the results. And so if you want to learn the same proven strategies to help you open more doors, have more effective sales conversations with prospects, and close more orders, then my zero-time selling interactive training system is a fit for you. It's incredibly simple to start. Just take out your smartphone and text the word TRUST, that's T-R-U-S-T, to 96,000. Now, do you have your phone ready? Send a text to 96000. That's a 9 and a 6 followed by 3 zeros. Now enter the single word message TRUST and hit send, and you hear right back from me with instructions on how to sign up for your free trial on my zero-time selling interactive training. I look forward to seeing you there. Hello and welcome to Accelerate. I couldn't be more excited and amped up to talk with my guest today. Joining me is Kyle Porter, founder and CEO of SalesLoft. Kyle, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Andy. I'm excited to be here and excited for our conversation.
Yeah, it's always fun to talk with you. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Cool. Well, I am now sitting I'm sitting in Central Florida at my Orange Grove, Tangerine Grove, and Lake House. So it's the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm here working from home this week, but I run a company called SalesLoft out of Atlanta, Georgia. And our company grew from 4 employees at the beginning of last year to now over 85 employees. We were ranked as the fastest growing technology company in Georgia in 2015. And just recently were awarded with Atlanta's best place to work for companies in our size category. So I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a founder, I'm a husband, I'm a dad. I got a 15-month baby girl. I love to wakeboard, bike, play golf, and read a ton and talk about sales with folks like you. So I'm excited about today.
And we're going to talk about sales. So tell people a little bit about SalesLoft. I mean, what the company does.
Yes, I started the company in 2011, and the whole idea from the very, very beginning is that salespeople want more information in order to connect sincerely with their prospects. And tons of information exists on the internet, and we just got to deliver it to them. And so that really morphed into building a platform that allows prospectors, salespeople, inside salespeople to connect, qualify, and convert prospects into sales opportunities. So we do that through an email engine, a phone engine, and a social touchpoint engine. It's like InsideSales.com meets Yesware with a little bit of a modern twist. So we help people set qualified appointments and do it all on the SalesLoft platform.
Okay. And for people that aren't familiar with what InsideSales.com is or Yesware, and Yesware is an email tracking program that really is sort of one of these, I don't know, I'd call it almost like table stakes for salespeople these days. If you don't have the ability to be able to track the emails you're sending and whether customers are opening and engaging with them, then shame on you, because it's very inexpensive to do so, and it's just sales intelligence you absolutely need to have. Mm-hmm. To InsideSales.com for really bigger enterprises that provides a way for your inside sales team to quickly and easily dial, make a large quantity of dials, I guess, outbound dials to prospect.
Yeah, that's right. So we really have been the first company that's integrated a dialer function inside of the email tracking function and make it really easy for your team to execute on the steps necessary to connect with your prospects.
Okay, so you're a leader, and I'm going to use a broad term. You're a leader in what I call sort of the inside sales space, a thought leader. Your company's well regarded. You got a great product. So to me, there's been this evolution, I guess, in the way people think about inside sales, and I think there's sort of this chasm between sort of old school salespeople and the more modern salespeople that's saying, hey, how do we optimize the way or utilize our resources to be able to effectively outbound prospect and so on. So maybe for listeners, define what you consider to be inside sales today.
Yeah, great question. And I think I agree with you. I try not to look at things as inside or outside, but what I do is I look at things as modern or not. And you mentioned that word. A modern seller uses the the has the mindset and the skill set, the people, the process, and the tools to get things done. And I think it's no longer inside versus outside. It's kind of, do you use a computer to help you or not? And a lot of these field sales or outside salespeople, they may be really successful and spend 75% of their time behind a computer.
Sure.
They might be at a coffee shop or on an airplane, but they're using a computer to get the job done. And so that's really my outlook, is that the modern sales professional takes all that they have and all that they are and blends that with the best of the best in internet capabilities. And it's almost like the Iron Man character, who is smart, he's skilled, he's empathetic, he has all these talents as a human, but he puts that machine on, he puts that Jarvis on his arm, and that power crystal, and he's able to do more than anything else. So it's like human plus machine, and that's kind of how I look at selling. So I try not to think of it as inside versus outside, but really like empowered by technology and then skilled or not.
Right.
But I love this idea of the modern sales organization.
Oh, I do too. And so one of the things, though, that you're seeing in conjunction with that is increasing specialization of sales roles. And, there's the sales development reps, account execs, and so on. So maybe gives people explain how that sort of breaks down typically, at least when you may use your own organization as an example.
Yeah, for sure. There's an author, a gentleman that we both know named Aaron Ross, who came out with a book called Predictable Revenue. And this was really this kind of stood as a moment in time that kind of helped shape this specialization process. The whole idea is that my highly trained, highly paid, highly recruited account executive closers should be spending the majority of their time working open deals. They shouldn't spend the majority of their time.
Qualified prospects.
That's right. They should spend their time working opportunities that are highly likely to close. And they shouldn't spend their time trying to figure out where those opportunities are, aka prospecting. And so I want to establish a role inside my organization. I've already done this, but speaking hypothetically, that's the sales development role. And this sales development function and process is really the biggest innovation to happen to the sales process in the last decade. And what it means is that now you have highly trained people that are specifically focused on taking accounts that you've never talked to, never connected with, or they might be inbound leads, and converting those, connecting with those people, qualifying those people and companies, and then converting them into sales opportunities for your closers to go in and approach. And then after my highly trained closers close the deal, I want to pass that opportunity along to my account managers, who are trained at nurturing and the relationship side of account management, that are absolutely skilled in all the touch points and kind of necessary skills in that department, so that they can be most effective, and the salesperson can go back to selling, and the sales development person can go back to opening up opportunities. And so this has really been a big trend that's emerged, and we've seen so many companies be successful with it. You and I talked before we turned on the recording that a lot of the companies that are adopting it are technology-driven businesses kind of to start, but we're really starting to see other businesses pick up this trend and really start to adopt the specialization model and the sales development function.
Okay, so and just to break it down again for people that are listening to this. So to start with, you have your sales development reps, who are your prospectors, right? They're out identifying the opportunities and making the initial contact and moving them along to a certain point in time. And
that's right.
That could vary from company to company, and I want to come back and talk about that in just a second. So then there's a handoff to your account executive. You call them the closer, but the fact is they're not just closing the deal. The deal is not ready to be closed. They have to do what a salesperson does. They have to help identify needs, do discovery, create some value with the customer, co-create value with the customer, come up with the best solution, and then close the deal.
Yeah, absolutely. The way we say it is they consult with the prospect to understand their needs and goals. So their job is to find out what are the objectives of this company, and then ask the right questions, uncover the right situations, find the right pain points, and showcase and help them understand whether or not the product will help them solve their problems or the solution.
Right.
And then go through that entire process of a sales process.
It's a sales process. And so then when you close that order, then you're going to hand that off to an account manager, because certainly in a lot of businesses these days, especially if there's any sort of recurring revenue, hey, the order is just the start, right? Because you want to be able to maximize the account value or the lifetime revenue value of that account. And the person who's going to do that, who's going to manage that customer, work with them, help them uncover additional and future needs, whether you're doing a land and expand strategy for account management, that's the account managers.
Yeah, different skill set, different set of priorities.
Exactly. So, a couple questions on that. So, have you come across a business that you think could not benefit from this level of specialization? I mean, it's maybe a crazy way of asking the question, but
Yeah,
to
yeah.
me, it seems like I don't think I've seen one yet that.
Well, I think I've seen a few some companies that have very very quick sales cycles, and I mean one call closes.
Sure.
My buddy sells suites and season tickets at the Atlanta Falcons NFL stadium. He's not going to call someone up and say, "Hey, are you interested in tickets?" Okay, let me pass you along to Bob, who closes the ticket. People who are interested in tickets. He's going to ask you for your credit card on the spot, right? So,
But in that case,
transactional sales.
sure. But in that case, though, they may have skipped the account exec, but there is an account manager oftentimes, right? I mean, at least I've
Yeah,
seen
yeah, yeah.
organizations that
Like
do
a
that. So
relationship manager
a
or something.
relationship manager. So you still have
Yeah.
this specialization. It's just maybe you're removing one layer.
Well, and sometimes a lot of companies, if they can't afford it or if they don't think it fits their model yet, the individuals will spend different periods. They'll block out, functions of their calendar to be that person, right? So, I've got a buddy that started a software company and he really can't afford to put in all three roles yet, and he's got to do some of the selling himself, and he's got one guy coming in that, to help him out. And so that person is now like, hey, on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, I'm prospecting from these blocks of time, and
Right.
then I'm setting my appointments up for these other days and times. And so we even see it at the individual level that if you can't specialize it, you can specialize yourself or your people, and so that's even an option as well.
Sure. And that's absolute best practice, right? I mean, if you're an individual sales rep, you need to have definite times during the day that you've blocked out to do prospecting. Otherwise, it's never going to happen, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we've all seen that before. So these sales development reps, so we start looking at these specialized roles. This is really now your entry level sales rep and sales
Mm-hmm.
position. So what's the profile of a typical SDR, or maybe in your business? And I know it's hard to generalize across all businesses, but what are you typically looking for as you hire these types of people?
Yeah, great question. So obviously, this is typically more of a junior role. So you're seeing companies recruit sometimes out of college or sometimes a few years out of college. Kind of limited to little experience in the industry. But I'll tell you what we look for. We look for people who have selling backgrounds. And what I mean by that is we look for people who were selling magazine subscriptions in middle school, people that were selling knives in college, or people that were working at Cutco or selling baseball cards or any kind of historical examples of selling. I've got my two. So SalesLoft has 20 SDRs, sales development reps, and the two with the most historical. I took the two most historical successful sales development reps at SalesLoft out for dinner the other night, and they found out together sitting there that they had been part of a magazine sales program at their schools, and both of them had won first place. And the award for winning first place, this is amazing. You're going to love this, Andy. The award for winning first place is this company took you to their office where they had a glass room that you would walk in with holes in the ground, and they shot money out in the room. They shot money out, and as many of the dollars that the kids could grab, they got to keep. And
Excellent.
so I sat here at the dinner and I realized we lucked into these two hires who were trained as children to sell and
Grab
literally
money.
grab money. And I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. And so from now on out, I'm like, I'm looking for people who are trained to grab money. But all joking aside, I'm looking for people who have been cold calling, cold emailing, prospecting a lot. You see this. I see this in the recruiting industry a good bit.
Hmm.
People really have to fight to be respected in that industry, and I love that. The financial services industry, people selling insurance and financial vehicles, love that. So any role where people have been grinding to connect, that's really my favorite for the profile for sales development reps.
And so, sales development reps, do you hire them then with the expectation that there's a career path that they then can morph into becoming, and create their career path, become capable people that could become account execs, or is it
Yeah,
do you
absolutely.
expect that? I mean, because it seems like a lot of companies that sort of a churn and burn with the sales development reps.
Well, that's the whole thing is that we don't want to do that. We want to create organizational health inside of our company. And so the sales development rep is really breeding ground for a number of different functions in the company. You could go into account management and customer success and do the post sales work. You could go into account executive role or a seller role. And then you could also look at other roles around product or around marketing. Now, for us, we're really fortunate because we build software for sales development reps. And
Mm-hmm.
so some of our sales development reps who are using our software, they get really, really familiar with it, and they might want to move into the product side. So our first ever sales development hire is now the head of all of our products. So just a kind of an interesting thing there. But yeah, we do draw out a really neat matrix that helps our sales development reps grow, and we recommend this. You can actually look ours up. If you type in sales development rep matrix online, you'll probably find ours. But there's a ton of different places that they can go, and based on their skill set, they may not be a super hunter, and they may not be, fit for the closer role, but might be really good at nurturing and managing relationships. One of the other things you asked me about profile, I will say that we are having a super run for the females at SalesLoft, as
Perfect.
my head of sales development is a female, and she reports to me. And then number 1 and 2 on the charts for Q4 right now are both females. So I'm telling all the guys, you got to catch up, or we're just going to hire a bunch of women.
Well, hey, I mean that's excellent. That is incredible to see because one of the things that and I'm glad to hear that because I get a lot of calls as running my own company as you do from sales development reps, and rarely ever do I get a call from a woman. So that's fantastic. I'm
Yeah,
glad to hear your.
it's been really helpful to have a woman in leadership, because they see her and they see what you can do, and I think it's really inspirational, and so that's been awesome. We're really proud that 50% of our leadership team is female, so that's really been cool, and it's something that's important to us.
Yeah, excellent. All right, well, we're going to take a short break, and before we do though, I have a question to ask you. It's sort of a hypothetical scenario I pose to every guest on the show.
Okay.
So here it is, and you'll give me the answer after the break. You're a new sales manager hired into a company whose sales have stalled out. And so they desperately need to be turned around. Senior management really got a lot of focus on this. So on your first week on the job, what are the 2 things you would do that would have the biggest impact? So we'll take your answer after the break. With me today, Kyle Porter, founder and CEO of SalesLoft. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Andy. Connect and Sell is used by sales reps at nearly 1,000 companies, including hundreds of technology startups and several Fortune 500 companies, to overcome the challenges of getting prospects on the phone. Companies using Connect and Sell grow their revenues faster by enabling their sales reps to have more sales conversations in 90 minutes than they could otherwise achieve in an entire week. Connect and Sell can be deployed directly to your sales reps, or you can take advantage of their outbound on-demand service, which delivers qualified prospect meetings scheduled directly on your sales reps' calendars. Visit connectandsell.com to learn more about how Connect and Sell can start filling your pipeline today. Welcome back. My guest today is Kyle Porter. So Kyle, right before the break, I gave you this hypothetical scenario. Sales leader, new into a company, need to turn around sales quickly. What 2 things would you do in your first week on the job that would have the biggest impact?
Cool. Okay. So the first thing I would do is assess the organizational health of the department. And I do that by surveying folks, by asking a lot of questions, and by understanding where people stood within the organization. So that's the first one. So I want to make the most healthy departments and divisions by understanding that everybody knows their job, knows their boss, knows how they're doing it well, and the systems are all set in place to keep them intact with that. But here's the other one. I know how salespeople operate, and salespeople have to look up to their manager or boss in order to work effectively with them. And since I naturally have been selling my entire life, now I'm a CEO now, so I don't sell, in the same ways, but I'm selling.
Sure.
I would get out and showcase my passion, my talents, and my ability around selling. And so I'd get a big prospect in that I could connect with and bring other members of the team in so that they say, hey, Kyle's on board with us. He can help. He can sell. Not only is he focused on the culture and organizational health here, but he's somebody we can follow and learn from.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Yeah, I mean and I think it's such an important point is managers need to model the behavior that they want people to follow. And it's oftentimes you don't see that, right? It's you hire a sales manager, especially these days in some larger enterprises, the sales managers all seem to have their heads buried in the CRM system, and they don't get out and sell and show people how it should be done.
Yeah, we have the privilege of every once in a while getting me in the loop on a sales call, and it's always so exciting to me. And the reps always write back and say, in one of our pulse check surveys that we do, and they say that they like to see it, and it helps keep them energized and helps keep them motivated. And so, I don't do it as much as I'd love to, but I'm selling other things. I'm hiring executives. I'm raising capital. I'm convincing the engineers to build products in a certain way. So I'm selling every day. I'm just doing it in a different way.
That's right. Just as Daniel Pink said, everybody sells. So let's talk about SalesLoft for a second, because it's you call it a sales development platform. But I think there's something really unique, I think somewhat unique about what you're doing that really sort of changes the paradigm for prospecting. So tell people a little bit about what the platform does.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time here, but the whole idea is that, right now today, if you have a sales organization that's trying to set appointments with their prospects, they're wasting a bunch of time on dial pads, in email applications, logging things in CRM, trying to remember what to do next. And we just make all that stuff really, really simple. So a manager or the team lead or even yourself can script out the steps that you want to take with a prospect. So you might say, I want to reach out and have 7 touch points over a 12-day process for each new prospect I add to my account, my list. And it might be step 1, send this email template, but tweak it this way with some personalization. Step 2, call the people who didn't reply to email 1. Step 3, email number 2 to the people who didn't reply to email 1 or answer the phone on phone call 1. And so it just allows you to set up all those steps, and then you log in, and it's got this big green button that says, let's begin. And basically, let's begin is your day 1 steps, your day 2 follow-ups, your day 3 follow-ups, and then you just execute everything inside the application. So instead of picking up your phone and dialing a number, you have your headset plugged into your computer, and you click a button, and it starts dialing down the list. Instead of sending an email through one-to-one through your Exchange or Gmail, or letting marketing send a mass blast that's unpersonalized, you get to send your own targeted small blasts that are able to be personalized and customized before they go out. And then it does all the tracking and analytics. And then the coolest thing is it measures everything you're doing, logs it all to Salesforce or your CRM automatically, and then it comes out on the back end and says things like, you should make calls at 3 p.m. instead of 1 p.m., or you should send your emails at this time, or of all the people on your team, here are the ones that are following the process, and here are the ones that are successful. Or of all the accounts that you wanted to prospect, here's the percentage you were able to convert versus the other people on the team versus industry benchmarks. And so it's all these analytics and information that make life so much easier to come back in and improve. This template works better than this template. This voicemail works better than that voicemail. Bob's making this percentage of connections, but Tim's making this percentage of connections. And so we love, how the analytics are really changing the game for our customers. And then the workflow is just an easy way to log in and do your job, staying accountable and making it fun and easy.
Well, I think the workflow is, and you were calling at one point a cadence, which I think is a great term, is that, and that's really the point I want to talk about, more specifically than just the product. But, if you're prospecting, most people when they prospect, they're given a name, they call. If they don't get a voicemail, or they don't get the person, they get a voicemail, and then they put a follow-up somewhere saying, well, I'm going to call again.
Yeah.
And, if you repeat that 4 or 5 times, you're not going to make any progress, right? And so I think the beauty of what you've done, which I think is a lesson, whether they're using your tool or not, for people that prospect a lot, is it's a mix of activities within a defined period of time that increase your chances of really intersecting with that prospect's life.
Yep, and then measure which ones worked and change,
measure which ones worked,
and tweak the cadence, if you will.
Tweak the cadence and do it again. And so you could do that all manually. But I think the key lessons for a lot of people listening is it's not all one thing that's going to enable you to connect with these people that you need to prospect.
Well, and you could do some of it manually, but you can't record your conversations and auto log your dispositions to your CRM or call with the area code. If you call someone in Arkansas, it comes up as an Arkansas number. If you call someone in Texas, it comes up as a Texas number. And Hello Operator did a study that said you get a 30% increase in connection if you have that kind of local. So there's a bunch of things that kind of these software tools can do, ours or others, that help. But here's the big one, Andy. I think we talk about this new function of sales development. It's kind of been around. I mean, people have been doing cold calling for a long, long time. But here's an interesting perspective to look at. In sales, we have the concept of an opportunity. And an opportunity is when something becomes qualified at a level that the account executive thinks is going to close. But what about before that? What about the top 200 companies that you want to be in that don't know you or haven't connected with you or don't have any connection? What we're looking at now is those 200 companies, they effectively become an opportunity for the prospector or for the sales development rep. So the sales development rep now has 200 companies, and their goal is to maximize the percentage of those companies that they're able to convert over to a sales opportunity, right? And so this is the big one. If you take, let's say you have two reps, Rep A and Rep B, and Rep A has, both of them have scheduled 30 qualified appointments in the month of November, which is awesome for you. Your quota was 25, they both did 30, and these things are going to close into big pipeline opportunities and be great. But Rep A prospected 3,000 companies to get 30 to convert, and Rep B prospected 400 companies to get 30 to convert. Rep B is the standout prospector or sales development rep in that case. And the reason is, A, they didn't have to chunk through all that data, which costs money and process and time. B, they left a lot more opportunities open for other salespeople to come in and not have to wait until that 60 days from last touch, in the CRM in order to touch them and try to convert them. And then C, they didn't leave a scorched earth behind them for all the 2,970 that they didn't convert, where they probably spammed them and came across with an insincere message.
Right.
And so we're really focused on the creating Rep Bs in the industry. I mean, not Bs, A players, but the second rep in that scenario, who are able to take a smaller number of accounts and convert a larger percentage of them.
Oh, couldn't agree more. I mean, absolutely. I'm glad you qualified that toward the end about the scorched earth with the 3,000, because, yeah, you wouldn't want to have an example where you had two reps where during the same period of time, one made 400 calls and one made 3,000 to generate the same number of opportunities.
Yeah, and well, what's happening is that these modern companies, they think they're automating things by sending these spam blasts out. And so they blast out 5,000 people, and they think that's a worthy touch. But really what you've done is you've wasted an account that now a sincere seller has to wait 60 days in order to touch that account because you've got rules in your CRM. But they'll say, no, well, we ran through the sales rep's email system, which is what our tool does. But you can't send those blasts out and expect the response. Now, you might get your 30 results. And that's where the problem is the sales development rep is like, hey, man, I hit my number, right? But the CEO is like, no, dude, you wasted you scorched a bunch of earth to get there, and we don't want you doing that. So that's where the problem is that a lot of these modern companies think that that's the right way to go, is just blast these emails out. But it doesn't take long for them to be around until they realize, hey, you're eating up your prospect universe, and you need to be more sincere with it.
Yeah, and I think it's really a key point you make about sincerity. So what do you do in your own practice within SalesLoft to make that communication come across as sincere?
Yeah. Well, we don't use marketing automation for any outreach ever. So rule number one, we never send an email through marketing automation unless it's somebody who's already subscribed to something, requested to download something, is on a trial of something. So no email communication blasts ever. That's rule number one. Number two is anytime my sales development reps are sending emails, they're never sending more than 50 new emails per day. So they're not sending 200, 300, 400. And then all those emails are going through their own email system. Now, they use SalesLoft to do it, but they have the opportunity to come in and personalize each and every one of those. And we follow a philosophy called the 10-80-10, which is the first opening line of that email is 10% is customized based on the things they've done, the places they've been, the blog posts they're putting out. Then the 80 next percent is a templated piece. It talks about how we can help or how we think we can help. And then the closing line is personalized. And since we sell into kind of these mid-sized deals and volume is important to us, my reps are able to prospect a large number of accounts, be sincere to those accounts, not overly sincere or hyper sincere, but hyper personalized at that 10-80-10 level, and they convert a large percentage of them over. And then they're phone calling, they're A/B testing phone calls, they're doing all the things to nurture these prospects with a real human touch point along the way.
Yeah, and so let me make a last question along that point. That's one that's sort of a pet peeve of mine, and there's all the talk and training that goes on to say, look, all these tools exist, social media, others, the internet, to be able to find something out about your prospect, to be able to personalize communications before you do that initial outreach.
Hmm.
Why does that still seem to be so hard for people to do? I mean, I get calls, as I said before, from SDRs, from companies that we've even talked about on this program today that clearly hadn't looked at my LinkedIn profile, hadn't looked at my website,
Hmm.
and if they had, they would have seen that they shouldn't have wasted the call.
Yeah, activity requirements. Managers have requirements for their level of activity. They want them to make $75 a day, and they haven't figured out a way to make those $75 a day and research the prospects along the way.
So what do you do for that?
Well, what we do is that the system is set up to auto-generate the next steps for you. So who you're going to call. So you're one click to dial right outside of SalesLoft. And then while they're doing it, they've got the Salesforce record open, and they've got the LinkedIn record open, and the company page record open. So they've got this kind of ability to capture this 3x3 research, and they're highly trained to be able to look at it at the same time as the dial's going out. So they probably do like a 2-minute before, and then
Right.
click the button and go. But it is a balancing act. You've got to be able to quickly have a process for setting all the things up, be able to scour it quickly, figure out some key touch points, and then move on. But they do work on the front end to make sure that the right people are in their funnel. So they wouldn't call you if you weren't a good prospect, because they would have already figured that out before they made the dial. So that it's important to on the front end. Now, every once in a while, a mistake's going to slip through, but it's important on the front end to make sure you pick the right list of people you're going to reach out to.
Yeah.
And they target by the account. So like my sales development reps, they choose the company first that they want to sell to. And your company would not be one of those companies, because there's requirements on size and industry and things like that. And so they'd go in with a target list of company names, and that's who they're prospecting to. They're not prospecting to Bob and Joe, because Bob might be gone and Joe might be in a different department. Now they start at the account level first, then they find the right Bobs and Joes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just saying a good point for people listening is that touch of personalization, as you talked about, which comes from knowing something about
Yeah.
about the prospect before you
Anything.
contact them. Anything is really important, right? Otherwise, you're going to waste not only your time on that first outreach, you're going to waste the customer's time. And as you said, it's going to take you 60 days at least before they forget about it, and you get another chance to go in.
They leave a bad. Your brand is a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah, which is the last thing in the world you want.
That's
All right.
right.
Excellent. All right, we're going to move into the last segment of the show. I've got some rapid fire questions for you. You can give me a one-word answer, or you can elaborate to your heart's content. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the most powerful sales tool in your arsenal?
Well, come on, that's an easy one. It's
Well,
gonna
no, I mean, think about a personal attribute as opposed to a tool.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of product. Maybe that's
Yeah.
where my head went. Okay, I got it. It's resourcefulness. I think I just gave this talk to the team the other day. Is that if you're engaged enough, playful enough, driven enough, crafty enough, you can get through to anybody, and you can accomplish anything. And that's resourcefulness. And a lot of times, people when they're not able to accomplish their goals, you ask them what it was that held them back, and they'll give you a list of resources. This is something that was inspired to me by Tony Robbins, right? They'll say they didn't have enough time, they didn't have the right people, they didn't have the right money, but really what it was they didn't have the resourcefulness. And so I think, for me personally, that's been the thing that's gotten me through all the stages of entrepreneurship, the ups and downs, the crash landings, and the kind of reboots and all that stuff. And so I love thinking in terms of resourcefulness and hiring people who are resourceful and coaching people to be resourceful.
Yeah, and I think with that comes, as you talked about, is being yourself. I think so often people, especially salespeople early in their career, think that they have to conform to a certain model of behavior and so on. Whereas if they're their authentic self, and you use lots of words, playful, resourceful, and so on, everybody's different. So sell to your strengths.
That's right.
Okay, excellent. Next question. Who's your sales role model?
Bill Clinton.
Oh, really? Why?
Because I had to answer quickly, and he was the one that came to mind.
Well, there's a reason it came to mind.
I saw the Bill Clinton debate against Herbert Walker Bush, and there's a moment where a lady in the audience she asked a question, and HW she asked a question, and HW looks at her, and he's standing there, and he kind of crosses his arms a little bit. He kind of stands back a little bit. He kind of challenges the question a little bit, and she's not moved or impressed or anything, and his response is terrible. And then Bill Clinton stands up and he walks towards the lady with his hand on his heart. He repeats back what he thought the question was, and she confirms that it's right. And then he goes in to tell a personal story that correlates directly with her story. And I know for a fact, believe what you want to believe, Republican, Democrat, I won't even, it doesn't even matter where I am on this stage. But I believe in my heart that he truly cared about her in that moment, and it shined right through.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought it was amazing. It was amazing kind of counterpoint between what HW did and what Clinton did, and it was very, very impressive. And to hear the way when somebody comes into a conversation with maybe HW, you leave the room thinking Herbert Walker is a very smart and impressive person. When you leave the room after talking to Bill Clinton, you leave the room thinking you're a very smart and impressive person. And that's the impact that he had on other people. And I think that's really cool, or has still today. And I think that's really cool, is that, regardless of all the scandals and crazy stuff that he's been involved in, if you can make someone feel like $1 million and you truly believe, the praise and the gratitude that you give someone, I think that's where sales should begin and end.
Yeah, and I think going along with that is that what he was so good at is being present, right? Mm-hmm. And I had a chance to meet him in 2008. He had come out to San Diego to do a fundraiser for Hillary, and I got an opportunity to go and stand in line and shake his hand and meet him. Very powerful. I mean, it's just the charisma, but the fact is when he shook your hand, he was completely focused on you. And so when you're in sales, how hard is it? You're not going through reception lines, receiving lines where you're meeting hundreds of people at a time and making everybody feel that special. You only have to do it one person at a time, few times a day. And just think how powerful that is. That's a lasting memory. So take the time and, when you're with a customer, be with the customer. Okay, next question for you. What's the one book that every salesperson should read?
I'm going to say How to Win Friends and Influence Others. This is obviously
Dale Carnegie,
a must read. I would go so far as to say this isn't a must read. This is an annual read.
Yeah, very, very, very good. Yeah, I just was talking to somebody yesterday. So I made the exact same point about the exact same book.
Well, the reason is that I read it and I go, wow, I knew all these things, but I didn't do them yesterday. Right? I know all these things in my heart to be true, but I'm not reminded of them all the time. And right before I picked up this book, I just did something that I shouldn't have done. And I treated someone a way that I shouldn't have treated them. And I didn't praise when I should have. And I didn't lead with the honey, I just think that, Dale Carnegie needs to remind us frequently how to behave. And, if we don't continually kind of, improve on it. I think someone gave me an analogy the other day. They said that they were talking about discipline, and they said discipline is like a shower. You need to do it every day. And I think, you can't just do it once and be good. I think, the lessons I learned about love first and service and gratitude from Dale Carnegie and from that book, really like a shower. I've got to continually, remind myself of them every day.
Excellent. Okay, Dale Carnegie. And the thing that's an important lesson for people is I think selling has changed, and we can enumerate the ways we think selling has changed and the impact of technology, but at the end of the day, it's still a person dealing with a person.
Yeah, that's right.
And those things are essential. Okay, here's a really tough question for you. What's your favorite music to listen to sort of pump yourself up?
Well, we were just talking before the podcast that we both ride bikes, and I'm into cycling. I'm not as good at it as you are yet, but I found that my times are a lot faster when I'm listening to Rage Against the Machine or something really, really intense. So I find myself going to that, but I'm really more of an Audible guy than a music guy. So right now I'm cranking through some Andy Stanley leadership Audible Kindle books and through Audible, and I prefer to listen to books than I do to music. But big classic rock guy, Beatles, Zeppelin, Allman Brothers, kind of Southern rock, classic rock.
I was going to say, old soul in a young body. Okay. So what's the first sales activity you do every day?
Probably sell myself on what I'm going to do for the day. My wife and I have this pretty aggressive goal for the number of days we wake up before 6 a.m. And that's one that I've been working on. And so the first thing I got to do is sell myself on why I should wake up and get out of bed at 6 a.m. But I think we're always selling ourselves. And, it's hard to sell something else if you aren't sold on your own stuff. And, I think, there's a quote. I have no idea where it came from, so I won't be able to attribute it. And I've probably morphed it a few times over the years, but I love this, is that, selling requires a fundamental belief in yourself, in the product that you represent, and in the company that you work for. And that the art of sales is only a mere transference of that belief. And so I think that's, it all begins in selling yourself on you, on your product, on your company, and being sold before you go out and sell to others.
Well, with a young child in the house too, it seems like getting up early shouldn't be an issue.
Well, yeah, she doesn't wake up at 6 though. She wakes up at like 7, so
Yeah.
6:45.
Well, I always found when my kids were that age that before the kids came along, I always liked exercising in the evening. But once the kids came and you work late and you come home and you don't want to miss any time with them. So to me, that slot first thing in the morning, as soon as the eyes open, going out and exercise really became essential.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I hear her out in the hallway making noise. She's waiting for me. So as soon as the podcast, I'm
all
going
right.
to be
We got one last question for you then. One last question.
Oh, no rush.
So, what's the one question you get asked most frequently by salespeople?
So the question that I get asked the most is around how we manage the organizational health of our company. So it's not really a sales-driven question, but I get this question all the time. Kyle, I'll give a talk, and 10% of it will be on core values and culture, and then afterwards, 4 people will come to me and be like, "I have more questions about the core values and culture stuff." And so, I get that question a lot, and really my answer is that, as a leader of a team, as a CEO, as a founder, as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of things we don't have control over. We don't have control over our competitors. We don't have control over the macroeconomic climate. We don't have control over maybe someone else's budget or any of these things. But when we lead teams, we have control over what the team is focused on, what the goals of the team are, the core values that we use to hire, that we use to fire, that we use to reprimand, and that we use to praise on, and the meeting structures that we have, the updates that we provide, the metrics that we report on, and really the overall health of the organization from a kind of fluid motion perspective. And that's really what the questions I get is why and how and what and all the things that kind of come with that.
Excellent. Well, good. Well, Kyle, thanks for joining me today. It's been great
You're
talking to
very
you.
welcome.
So it's been Kyle Porter, CEO of SalesLoft. How can people find out more about you and SalesLoft?
You can find us at salesloft.com. I also have a blog at kyleporter.net. And you can find us on social, all over the place. Hard to miss. We've built our business around the internet. So hope to see you out there and hope to help you increase sales and set more qualified appointments.
Excellent. So remember, friends, make it a part of your day, every day, to deliberately learn something new to help you accelerate your success. Subscribing to this podcast can be an easy way to do that, because then you'll make sure you don't miss any of our conversations with top business experts like our guest today, Kyle Porter, who share their expertise about how to accelerate the growth of your business. So thanks for joining us, and until next time, this is Andy Paul. Good selling, everyone. Thanks for listening to the show. If you like what you heard and want to make sure you don't miss any upcoming episodes, please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or Stitcher.com. For more information about today's guest, visit my website at andypaul.com.